Did you know Super Awesome Mix has an app? Go to the Apple App Store today and download Super Awesome Mix. It's free. You could start creating and sending your own digital mixtapes in just a few clicks. Also, there's links to our Instagram account and a link where you can follow your favorite podcast. Speaking of which, welcome back to another Super Awesome Mix. We're going to pick up where we left off last week with part 2 of our best of 2022. Enjoy.
All right, and welcome back. We're just going to roll right into track 13, and it is your pick, and it is Drive, Drive, Drive by Jake Swamp and the Pine.
Yeah, Drew, who we found out is not named Jake, was on the show
Yes.
recently. And he was just such a great guest. He was awesome. And their debut album is coming out very soon, called Simpson and Banks. And this was kind of the second single that came out. So I didn't want to just go right back to Empty Stomachs and Bloodshot Eyes, which we had, highlighted on the new music mix. I just thought this was a great driving song, which I realized could be a mix of its own, right? Like driving songs. And
Yes, totally.
I've been on a number of like cross country road trips. And so I thought this was really cool. The time I was doing a lot of those cross country road trips, I didn't even have a smartphone necessarily. So I like literally had like a map that I was just kind of following roads
Yeah.
to kind of get around. And you don't really have like a cell phone even at that point. Like at least, you're going to lose service pretty quickly if you are outside of a city. So, he talks about kind of turning his phone off before taking a drive, but I was like, I didn't even really have service on my phone. So I would just kind of drive. And so anyway, I think
Right.
it just, for me, harkened back to those times. And I just thought it was really well done. Really great song.
Hey, and if you're still struggling with service, check out T-Mobile. They have some of the best coverage.
See T-Mobile, we could easily pull it off. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. Easily.
We just like to test out ad reads right there just to let our listeners know if you're working in these businesses, we got you. We're good. No, but this is a really great track. And I love that call out about the turning off the phone and disconnecting and driving. And like you're saying, like some of us have been alive at a time when that wasn't even necessary because you might not even had a phone, much less needed to turn it off.
Right.
But yeah, I just love, like, it's so catchy when he sings, like, all I gotta do is drive, 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 and then the instrumentation comes in and stuff. It's great. And +1 to having him as a guest. That was so much fun. Really enjoyed talking to him about his music.
Yeah, he was great. Now on the opposite end of the spectrum, we just had one guest, not as well known, first album, kind of making his way up. Your next pick, you went with what's going to be the biggest album maybe ever. I don't know. You go with Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift.
Yeah, I know. The woman who broke Ticketmaster. She is such a force in music. Incredible. And I feel like Jen would stop being friends with us, with me specifically, if I didn't put Taylor Swift on the best of the year. This is a song, funny enough, that the chorus of, or not the chorus, but the line, hi, it's me, I'm the problem, it's me, has been such an earworm for me. I wake up like singing that to myself almost every single day ever since I've heard this song, because it just sticks. And of course, it's being used in a lot of TikToks and like, used very cleverly with that. But then, I think it might be literally problematic because I'm wondering if I'm just reinforcing, like, I'm the problem. Every single morning I'm waking up, if that's the first thing that I'm saying to myself, and I'm like affirming this is not good self-speak, like I found myself being like, no, I'm not the problem. I'm okay. Everything is fine. So that's been really funny. But yeah, her album's great. It's another huge success. I've listened to it a number of times and really enjoyed it. This one obviously is probably one of the largest off of it. I just love the line. Did you hear my covert narcissism I disguise as altruism, like some kind of congressman? I just really think that the way she delivers that is so perfect, like in her timing and how she sings it. And so that line always just makes me smile every single time I listen to it. But yeah, love this album. I've listened to it a lot.
Yeah, she's such a great songwriter. I mean, we've talked about her both on this show and on Jen's show as well. So we have sung her praises. Obviously, it's a massive album. Here's what I thought about while I was listening to this. I was like, well, okay, this album's going to win every Grammy, right? But then I
Hmm.
look up the 2023 Grammy nominations, and they essentially had already been done by the time this album came out. So she's going to win every Grammy in 2024. So
Right.
like it's 18 months from now. Like I always think this is really weird when it comes to like Grammy nomination because you're gonna watch that show in like March and be like, okay, well, where's Taylor Swift? Like, shouldn't she be up here? Like, what's going on?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, no, see the period was for this time to this time, and she just missed the window. So yeah, so it's gonna be 18 months from now when she wins like 15 Grammys or whatever she's going to win for this for
Right.
this album because you know it's going to be just every single category.
That probably is not great for like every other talented musician who's going to release music
Yes.
that is probably worthy of an award
Right.
because they're all the nomination committee is already like, well, our job's done. It's just T
Yes,
Swift
it's
straight
done. It's
straight.
just
It's
straight
done.
down ballot. Just
Yeah.
yeah, just hit all
Right.
Democrat and just move on, right? Like get out of the voting booth. That's all they have to do. Hit Taylor Swift down the
Right.
line, and that's all you have to do.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Well, best of luck to
Yeah,
everyone in next
yeah.
year. You
All of
know,
it. You did great work. You did great work. Yeah.
you did. We'll be listening to you. Track three, or sorry, this is not track three. This is track two, the B side, because I'm going to lose count here quickly. I don't know how to add. And it is "Stay With Me" by Calvin Harris, Justin Timberlake, Halsey, and Pharrell Williams.
So I gave this song the ultimate test, which is I played it for my kids, and I was like, "All
Right.
right, guys, what do you think?" And I don't know, it took them all of 5 seconds to be like, "We love this song." Such a
Nice.
feel good song. I mean, I just love the energy around it, and you've just got so many heavy hitters in the song. Like, again, I think when I put it on the original new music mix, I was like, this feels like cheating because, of course, it's going to be a great song.
Right.
But you know, hey, if you're gonna throw a New Year's party or any sort of party here near the end of the year, throw this out there because I don't think it got virtual. I have never heard it on the radio, so this was not like a big pop single. But trust me, you're gonna throw it on, and people are just gonna, you know, they're just gonna love it at whatever party you're throwing.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it got like as big of a play as you would imagine, but it is so catchy. I mean, just right out of the gate. I think I said this last time, like the line, "Hey, it's a mess out there." The way that that's delivered and then repeated, it's so much fun. This is definitely like kind of a joyful song, I'd say. I've been putting it in kind of my peppy, like upbeat, positive vibes playlist. So really enjoyed it. Good pick.
All right, your next pick. You went with "Too Late Now" by Wet Leg.
Yeah. I mean, every time I say their their band name every time without fail, I'm always like, ugh, I don't know why. It still weirds me out.
It's a weird name, but it's
It
memorable.
is.
It's memorable. They're
It's
hey,
very
you know
memorable.
what? They're up for a Grammy. They're up for Best New Artist. So
That's awesome.
you're gonna hear
I'm
someone
rooting
say
for them.
"wet leg" on national TV soon enough.
That's great. So I have, I love this album, and this is funny. I don't know if you're like me, listener slash Matt. Sometimes there are albums where I will sit through and I will listen to it start to finish, and I'm like, cool, that was awesome. And then there are albums like this one where like I will just come back to different songs on it for whatever reason. Like I would never have listened to it start to finish, but I'd be like, cool, I listened to this song like a whole bunch. Now I'm gonna try a new song, and then I end up listening to that one a whole bunch. So that's how I've been like listening to this album this year. And so the most recent song that I've discovered off of it and have just been obsessed with is this one, "Too Late Now." Um, because I'd spend a lot of my time listening to Angelica and Shay's Lounge and a bunch of these other ones that are also just equally fun. But the bridge is why I love this track so much. And so she's kind of like speaking, where she says, "Now everything is going wrong. I think I changed my mind again. I'm not sure if this is a song. I don't even know what I'm saying. Everything is going wrong." And, she repeats it. "I don't need no dating app to tell me if I look like crap, to tell me if I'm thin or fat, to tell me if I should shave my rat. I don't need no radio, no MTV, no BBC. I just need a bubble bath to set me on a higher path." So again, like their lyrics are so clever and funny of like all these things of like, I don't need you to tell me all these things. I don't need this like junk you're trying to put in front of my face. Like I just want like something fun, like a bubble bath. And again, like yeah, I just love the kind of crazy nature of their lyrics and the way that they sing it. So that's why I keep coming back to this album. It's a lot of fun.
I noted the same thing. It's about a minute 40 in, and it shifts from this kind of melodic song to, you're right. I wrote down it was almost like a rap sort of in the middle of it,
Right.
right? It
Yeah.
reminded me, the whole thing in some reminded me of something that, Blondie might have come up with. Like Blondie was big in like the
Hmm.
early 80s, right? Like right around like 1980, 81. And that was kind of like she would do these little raps in between these like sort of melodic things, and so this seems like an updated version of that, which I thought was really cool. I thought it worked really well, even though it's very different. Like they're a very different band, but I really like it.
Yes, it is very different. All right, now a different kind of genre entirely. A little whiplash here. This happens a couple of times actually coming up. You went with "The Greatest Day of My Life" by Zach Bryan.
Yeah, I had to put some country music on there, right? This guy is from a small town in Oklahoma, and this song, I listened to it once. I was like, oh, it's pretty good. Then the more I listened to it, the more I was like, man, I love this song. There's a lyric, years are just moments in a great big pile. She's there on the porch swing of my life. And I just thought, one, that's a great way to put, what memories are, right? Like kind of moments in a great big pile. And then, he's clearly thinking back on somebody who's maybe not there, either from like a past relationship or someone passed away, whatever it was. But, in his mind, like she's still there. And the whole song is kind of him highlighting sort of good things in his day, and he's kind of going through something is what I kind of took from it. But he still kind of points out the good in his day. And like, I just kind of thought, you know what, every day could be the greatest day of your life, right? If you just sort of pick out the 5 good moments from your day, I mean, that could be a really good day. So I don't know. I just thought it was a really cool song. The more I listened to it, it really gave me a good, I don't know, good perspective on things.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Honestly, it was funny because I wrote that same line that yours are just moments, in a great big pile. I love that line. That immediately stood out to me because I just think that that's such a great way to describe time sometimes, where it's not necessarily linear at all the way we remember it. It is just kind of like a big pile of things, and you kind of dig through it and find little moments here and there. Um, but then it's funny, I listened to this song and I found myself getting like a little emotional too. And I never thought that would happen listening to a country song because normally I hear that genre coming on and my brain just tries to exit itself. It just needs to go somewhere else for a little while the song is playing and then come back. Um, but this one kept my attention, and I was like, I felt like a little emotional, and I just never thought that would happen. So kudos to Zach Bryan for bringing me on a trip here, because yeah, I literally never thought that was possible.
Nice, nice. I think the biggest thing I accomplished in 2022 is like I started to find country music that you could get into. That's what I feel is one of my
Yeah,
great
right.
accomplishments this year.
You should be proud of that. That's a big one because I went from hating it to tolerating it to now starting to kind of enjoy it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's been a journey.
Well, but I will say, like, I totally get that if you're not a country music fan and you just throw on like your local country music station, you're
Right.
probably not going to like what's there, right? And now you may
Yeah.
like some of it, right? But even I don't necessarily like a lot of the stuff that gets radio play. So I get it when people say they don't like country music because a lot of it does. When you talk to them, it's usually this category music that I'm like, yeah, I don't really like that either. So, all right. So your next pick on our best of 2022, you went with Bulerias by Rosalia.
Yeah, or Rosalia, I believe is
Rosalia.
I think
Okay.
Rosalia. Um, I might be wrong. I said that with such confidence, and
You
it might be.
did. You did. But the first note I put on here is I think you are the show's Latin music expert. So that's why I didn't question.
Right, sure. Oh, that's terrifying if that's true. I This is like a kind of a dark horse album, for me because, it's like a lot of my usual haunts of, like, rock and alt and, alternative or whatever, etcetera. But then, I wanted to do something that was, like, super different, and this is definitely super different than what I normally listen to, but this album is so good. It is, like, so many different genres, like, mashed into one. It's kinda hard to describe her music. I almost view it sometimes as, like, experimental in nature because the way she just kinda moves through here. She has a track featuring The Weeknd, and it's actually I almost picked that one for my best of the year because that one is also really good. But I just love this one because it's like the life of a flamenco dancer, and it's like the beat and the rhythm of the song coming through, and it's amazing, and it's like this story that she's telling. um the final lines here is, "To my family, to freedom, get out of my way, you get out of my way." And I love that of just this, like, story of someone being like, I'm gonna go do what I wanna do, like, everyone get out of my way, including my family." So I just think, again, like, she's super talented. She's definitely an artist to watch and kind of see, like, where she goes next, and, thankfully, like, this album did get a lot of accolades and a lot of attention, which is how I, kinda was first introduced to her. So very happy that I was, and very curious to see what comes next from her.
Yeah, the first note I wrote is like, "This doesn't sound like anything else I've heard," which I think was awesome,
Right.
right? And then I
Yeah.
translated the lyrics, and yeah, it's so empowering, which you don't. I said it almost as like something DJ Khaled would have put out, right? Like,
Yeah.
if she had thrown in a "We the best" in Spanish, I would have been like, "Yep, I
Right.
get it, I get it. You are the best." But yeah, so I thought that was kind of cool too because you don't see that from a lot of female artists either. And so, yeah, I thought it was real. I mean, it sounds great. So even if you don't sit down and like just translate the lyrics, I think you'll appreciate the sound. But when I dug in a little bit, I was like, wow, this is really unique.
Yeah, exactly, I love that. Her whole album is something. It's a trip. Definitely try to listen to that, like, start to finish and just pay attention to it. Alright, track 17 on the B-side or 19, in total. You went with Just, but most importantly, this is the Toy Selecta version, of course, by Run the Jewels, and LP and Killer Mike.
Yeah, the new Run the Jewels album. I mean, just go and hit play on track one and then just sit back until it's over. I mean, it is
Yeah.
incredible. And one thing they did, you'll notice on this track, and you notice throughout the album, they have a lot of like Latin beats behind the raps, which I thought worked
Mhm.
so well. And I could have picked. I mean, I could have just picked the whole album. I mean, I really can't recommend it enough. How much I enjoyed it. But I picked this song, which I thought was so well done, and just I don't know, I just thought it was awesome. I mean, one lyric that stood out: "The 13th Amendment tells you slavery is abolished. Look at all these slave masters posing on my dollars," which I was like,
Mhm.
"That's pretty. That's well done. It's good wordplay, but it's also true." So
Yes.
yeah, thought it was just really well done. I don't know, loved it.
Yeah, so, I mean, this album was released like, the non-Spanish Mexican, I believe it was a Mexican version of this, was released in 2020, and it was RTJ4, I think it was their 4th album. So this is RTJ4, and so that's why it was so interesting to listen to, like, this song again, 2 years later with that, like, Latin beat, like, mixed in with it, because it was so strange to me to hear what is a really powerful protest album being mixed with what I would consider to be, like, traditional dance music, at like a at like a wedding or something like that. But it works really well, but there was so much dissonance the first time I was listening to this again of just being like, "Wait a minute, this is not the version of the song, like, I angrily listened to back in 2020." Um, but you're right, like, the lyrics, like, they work on top of it, and I just think it's so cool, and even this could be, it's almost like it's a very unique take on their own music to kind of, like, flip it and have a bunch of local musicians, apply their flavor to it, the way that they did. Love Run the Jewels. They always bring, like, the fire and the heat in their lyrics, so you're absolutely right, like, the whole album is filled with lines like that where you're like, "Oh my god, that's so amazing, that's so powerful," like, that alone could be an anthem. So, nice one.
All right, your next pick. You went with Sugar Man by Regina Spektor.
Yes, so another album I've talked, a number of times about. I just wanted to pick a different track on it because this one I come back to just because I find it so catchy. Like, it is just has, like, a very catchy beat to it. And I just really like the line, when they serve the tea, watch the sugar dissolve, just don't confusing sugar with love. And this really is just kind of telling the story of like someone who's, kind of feeding you sugar, and sugar is not always good for you, and, not to confuse sugar with love. So don't confuse like attention and adoration and whatever it is that they might be giving you with like actual love and caring and being nurtured. And so, yeah, I just really like the kind of the theme of this song, but the way she sings it again, like such a unique voice, such a beautiful one, and this is a very catchy one. So I just really have enjoyed this whole album start to finish as well.
I thought this was really cool how many different she uses the word sugar in just like various ways, right? Because it's like there's the
Mhm.
actual, you kind of get a reference to the actual ingredient, and then there's kind of a cocaine reference, I think, in there. And then you kind of get the sugar daddy reference, the sugar man, like
Right.
sugar, like that. It just seemed like a really cool exploration of the word. I really like that wordplay in the lyrics, and how that's used in different ways. And exactly right. Like it could be really sweet, but it could also be something, harmful at the same time. So, yeah, I really appreciated how the song was constructed here.
That's awesome. Yeah, I hadn't even considered that part of it, but you're absolutely right. She uses it in a bunch of different ways, and I really like that. All right, track 9 on the B-side, 21 in total. We see again a great pick from earlier this year, "Training Montage" by the Mountain Goats.
Yeah, the more I listen to the song, because I've listened to it a ton since I put it on the new music mix, because it's now on like my running mix as well.
Mhm.
This might be my song of the year. I just think it's
Nice.
so good, because again, it's describing a training montage from a movie in a song that can be used for a training montage. So I love
Yes.
the unique nature of it, and it just sounds great. So it's perfect for any sort of workout mix you might be thinking of putting together. And yeah, I don't know. I just keep coming back to it, and I'm like, man, I just love this song. And so, yeah, this might be my song of the year.
That's so cool, I love that. I haven't thought about what my song of the year is. I need to put some thought into that, but my favorite line of this one, as I said last time, it's still true today, is, "Feels like it takes forever. It's maybe 5 minutes on screen."
Yeah.
Uh, and something you just said, the fact that, like, you're using this to, like, work out to, I can relate to that because sometimes you're like, "Okay, I must be, like, an hour and a half into this run," right?
Right.
And you look at your watch and you're like 5 minutes into it. It's not possible. So I get that. I get that.
That's great.
Great track. I love the Mountain Goats.
All right, track 10 on this side, but track 22 overall, you've got Tonight by Phoenix and Ezra Koenig. Or Phoenix featuring Ezra
Yeah.
Koenig, I guess it should be.
Y- yes. From Vampire Weekend. And right, I think this one was an exact pick from mine from earlier this year, and just wanted to bring it back up again because I love this mashup between the two. Like, I love the, Thomas Mars and Ezra coming together to sing. I think their voices are so complementary. And as I mentioned, I think earlier this year, there was, a time in my life where basically the only two musicians I would listen to were Phoenix and Vampire Weekend, like their albums, like back to back to back to back. Like, I had a playlist of just their albums kind of mushed together. And so for both of them to come together on a single recording is so cool, and it works really well and brings me back to a very happy time in my life. I think it was like 2009, 2010-ish whenever I started to really get into them. And so, yeah, it just a lot of it's a, time capsule song for sure for me. And I'm not even really, again, this is in the category of things where I keep trying to read the lyrics and try to understand what on earth they're talking about. And for some reason, I just can't. I don't really know what they're talking about, which happened a lot for me for Vampire Weekend songs too. Of, it's just something about the Northeast or so about a person or a relationship. I don't know. I don't care. I just like how it sounds. I'm just putting that in this category.
That's fair. That's fair. I love this one. It sounded so like 80s from the start of it, right? Like I had a really 80s vibe
Hmm.
to it. The vocals really aren't like 80s at all. Obviously, it sounds like Phoenix and Vampire Weekend, right? And so, but I thought that was like kind of a cool transition. Like they put this sort of 80s skin on in kind of their music is what I almost felt like. But yeah, I didn't dig deep into the lyrics here either. I just really enjoyed the track though.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You know, like, as much as we talk about lyrics, I just wanna make it again known to people, like, if you just like the sound of a song, great,
Great. There's
enjoy it,
nothing
you
wrong
know?
with that. Nothing wrong with
There's
that.
nothing wrong with
Okay,
that.
but look for our everything's problematic mix that we're gonna make. That's just gonna ruin 12 songs for you. Okay.
Right. Oh, goodness. All right, home stretch here to round out season 2. You've got appropriately called "The Last Dance" by St. Paul and the Broken Bones.
Yeah, so these guys came through Dallas not long after I had listened to their latest album, which this is on. And I get to see them. I think they might have opened up with this song. Um, but it's I mean, they're such a high energy band, and I mean, it was an incredible show. I mean, their lead singer, he was like walking through the audience and like climbing on things and doing, and like he hit so many like crazy notes while he's sort of navigating through the, venue that we were at. And I think tickets cost like 20 bucks to see them this year. And so everybody out there, like, just go and see these guys live because they're incredible, and do it now while the tickets are like 20 bucks, because in 12 months they'll probably be like 100 bucks, or if not more. And not because of
Yeah,
inflation, just because these guys are that good. I think these guys are going to be huge. So, um, yeah, I mean, just totally worth it from a live show perspective. So I want to emphasize that, like, bring this song back because you should listen to this and the rest of the album, but also talk about what a great live performance it was.
that's awesome. Yeah, I love bands that put on really, really strong performances. It's truly a different, like, skill set, a different type of talent, and some bands have it, others don't, but it's really fun when they check all those boxes of great music, which these guys have, and then also great performers, so really nice. Yeah, I love the line of just like, "I don't care if people watching me and they think I'm kind of strange, lose myself in music, feel it, feel it, feel it." You know, that's definitely a theme of a lot of what we talk about, of just like, be yourself, have fun with it.
Yeah,
Why not?
yeah, whatever it is you're listening to, and we cover all sorts of music here. So yeah, but whatever it is that you're into, just enjoy it. All right, here it is, last track. Okay, last track of the best of 2022, and you came strong with this one. You picked "United in Grief" by Kendrick Lamar.
Yes, I'm realizing maybe my ordering should have not ended on such a, like, downer note, of but you know what? That's okay. Sometimes a year is just gonna end that way. You know, this definitely fits in the theme of, like, thinking back of just kinda dealing with a lot and all the different ways that we deal with a lot and deal with grief and deal with suffering and, you know, big T trauma, little T trauma, like, all the different things that kinda come up in our life. Um and it's interesting because, you know, he sings here, like, the title is "United in Grief," but then he keeps saying that, like, everybody grieves different, and I just think that that's also a really interesting juxtaposition of, like, you know, we might all be grieving, but we're all dealing with it in different ways, and maybe even through the differences, that's how we're united, and I think that that's, like, another powerful theme. But what I also really love about, you know, Kendrick Lamar is he's one of these, you know, there's, like, a handful of artists now where whenever they release an album, the whole internet kind of, like, holds its breath for it, right? Like, they're all
Yeah.
waiting for this new album to drop, and it becomes, I mean, my Instagram feed for Super Awesome Mix is overrun with, like, Kendrick Lamar, like, reactions and posts and this and that, like, you know, Taylor Swift is another one, Beyonce is another one, Drake is another one, like, but I think Kendrick might be one of the largest of all of them because everyone just appreciates truly what a talent he is and his, like, masterful rapping and his lyrics and even just the way he releases albums. There's not as much fanfare as, like, some of the others. He's just, like, I think he's doing it truly for the art of it all. And so I think that's why he gets, like, a lot of credit, but absolutely beautiful song, and just very powerful and one that I listened to a whole lot this year.
Yeah, this was an incredible track. I mean, you almost have this like jazz trio kind of opening things up a little bit, and then sort of midway through when he gets into the rapping, and it's just like this unbelievable string of lyrics that it's like,
Mhm.
how is he doing this, right? And it just goes on for so long, and so just you can kind of physically appreciate that, right? Like just being able to hold up like that and get through all those words,
Right.
but then also just listening to the lyrics. I mean, it's incredible. So, yeah, and you're exactly right. He's definitely one of those guys who's going to stop down everything when a new album comes out. And yeah, he and Taylor Swift definitely had those moments this year.
Yes, for sure.
Well, there you have it. Okay. The last super awesome mix of 2022. Okay. The second half of the best of 2022. And that is a wrap on our season 2 of Super Awesome Mix. So, like we said at the beginning, the next 2 weeks are going to be a couple of our best episodes from this past year. And then we're going to come back first week of January with a whole new episode for season 3 of Super Awesome Mix. But thank you guys so much for continuing to listen. Please rate, review the podcast, give us some 5 stars so other people can find it, or just send the podcast to your friends and have them share it with other friends so we can continue doing this and continue making mixes. So Sammer, thanks for a great season 2.
Yeah, thank you. This is always a pleasure.
All right, so we're going to take a little break, but then get right back to making more super awesome mixes. So for Sammer, this is Matt, and we will see you next time. Super Awesome Mix is brought to you by DLM. Make shopping easy with DLM, the one-stop shop for all your casual clothing needs. Shop dlmsupplyco.com and enter the promo code AWESOME at checkout to save 15% off your first purchase. That's dlmsupplyco.com.